This is a tutorial on shoulder alignment and different ways that you can access sort of the upper body strength when you're doing chaturanga, a push-up, or a yoga push-up. So interchangeably, these terms are used in classes, and what I'm concerned about is the alignment of the shoulder when you're moving into a push-up. So first of all, when you go quickly through a movement, you tend to drop into your preference patterns. And these are the parts of your body that are very familiar with the movement. But if you do the movement the same way all the time, that's when we end up with a repetitive strain injury. So commonly in yoga, we have a lot of this push-up position where as we lower, the shoulder rolls forward, the shoulder blade glides up the back of the ribs, and we kind of swallow our neck. So I'll give you a little example of how that looks with my knees on the ground. You can kind of see what happens, and then if we're really tired, we drop the elbows in to kind of support the body weight, so we kind of jam in here, and it's this kind of a movement that will give us injuries in the top of the shoulder, the rotator cuff injuries that we hear about so commonly. So when you're practicing push-ups or chaturangas, the first thing you want to think about is a long, soft spine. So we're trying to avoid pushing the spine into flexion because immediately that loads the front of the shoulder with all of the body weight. By dropping the spine in and keeping a long, soft spine, the shoulder blade has the opportunity to sit on the back of the ribs and broaden the front of the chest. Now, the next little tip I want to share with you is as you're lowering down, I want you to think about not just sort of resisting gravity with the weight of your body as you lower, but imagine that you were at the bottom of a swimming pool and you had little handles, like handles that you could hold on to. And you would be pulling yourself against the resistance of the water. So the action of pulling actually engages the back of the shoulder. Lowering this way weakens this and puts all the load here. So when you pull the shoulder blade into the back of the body and you strengthen the whole shoulder, front, top, and back simultaneously. So when you're moving through your push-ups in yoga, and in many practices we do this quite frequently, sometimes up to 30 or 40 times in a practice, if you think about pulling yourself down to the floor, you'll feel your chest broadening as you lower. And the core will immediately integrate, the head will be in line with the upper back, and you'll be distributing that workforce through more connective tissue. The other option is if you're stronger, you could, because you're stronger on your eccentric phase, you could pull yourself down to the floor with your knees up, and then as you come back up, drop your knees to reduce some of the body weight. Straighten the legs, soft, long spine, pull yourself down to the floor, lower the knees, and press back up. Another thing that you can play with in your chaturangas is slightly wider or slightly offset hands. So this will strengthen different parts of the shoulders if you do this movement a lot. If it's only a part of your practice once a week, just think about that long, soft spine and that action of pulling to draw the shoulder blade into the back of the ribs and keep your spine long instead of swallowing your neck and loading the front of your shoulder, which is already prone and susceptible to overuse injury. A few other things to keep in mind to help you with your chaturanga or your yoga push-up is how you position your spine when you move into the position to lower. So we want to have the ear, the shoulder, and the hip in the same line. So just like when you're sitting or standing, you take that same position before you lower, being aware that the head is not dropping or the spine is not sagging. So if the knees are up, you can have ear, hip, shoulder all in line, or if your knees are down, you can still keep that same side line of angulation. And if you pull yourself to the floor, you're going to be aiming the center of your breastplate to touch the ground, not the head. So as you lower down, make sure your head's not diving forward first. Otherwise, you'll invite that spinal collapse into the floor and you'll lose the capacity to strengthen your shoulder girdle in your arms, which is what you're attempting to do. Finally, the position of the hand against the floor is going to be relevant in that it will stabilize your shoulder in its most comfortable position. So you want to position your hands in a way that keeps the root of the index finger or the knuckle of the index finger down. When the knuckle of the index finger lifts, we lose the connection between the shoulder blade and the back of the ribs, and we also change the orientation of the shoulder joint itself. So plugging into the fronts of all of your knuckles will energize all of the muscles in your shoulder, and there's just a little bit of light contact between the tips of the fingers and the floor. So I'll demonstrate that with the roots of the fingers plugged down, the fingertips pulling me down. I can keep the chest broad and the collarbones lengthening as I lower. If I lower down and I let those index fingers lift, you can see right away the shoulders lose stability and they start to move up towards the base of the skull. And then I lower down in this very compressed position of the neck. So hand position, spine alignment, and lowering the center of the breastplate to the floor through the action of pulling instead of just dropping into the shoulders. I hope this helps your chaturanga. Thank you for joining me.